Welcome to Shells After Dark Archives, the podcast where the veil between the known and the unknown is lifted. I'm your host Shell, and I'm here to guide you through the shadows of the supernatural. Here, we dive into chilling stories, unexplained mysteries, and real-life encounters with the paranormal. But this isn't just about storytelling, it's about the people behind the experiences. From ghost hunters to psychic mediums, UFO researchers to cryptid trackers, I'll be sitting down with those who dare to explore the strange and unusual. So, whether you're a skeptic, a believer, or just curious, get ready to embrace the unknown.
Turn off the lights, settle in, and prepare to journey into the After Dark archives.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Shell Spooky Stories, the After Dark Archives. And today I am here with the lovely Joe from Tales, Trails and Taverns. That's a long one that I was like, I'm going to mess it up, but I think I did okay. Hi Joe, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Yeah, everyone, a lot of people mess that up, the Tales, Trails and Taverns.
Yeah, it's a lot of T's. But it works.
Yeah.
I like mine's like a lot of S's, like Shell Spooky Stories. Yours is like Tales, Trails, and Taverns.
Yeah.
Yeah. The best things come in threes, though. Three's a magic number, isn't it? So they say.
Right.
The Holy Trinity and all sorts, but we will probably go into that later. So thank you for being here. I absolutely love your Instagram. I think yours and David's Down the Rabbit Hole are the two Instagrams that I actually consciously check. A load of people are going to come for me for that comment, but I always make sure that I'm like looking at yours because I think the stuff that you two seem to find is like insane and incredible, and I love it. I'm here for it all day.
Yeah, me too. I love the stuff that David puts out.
Oh yeah, it's mad.
He's got a knack for it. He's got a knack for finding the crazy, wild stuff.
Yeah, definitely. There's some stuff on there, and I'm just like, if I saw that, I would literally burn the house down. There would be nothing left to do. That would be it. I'd just be like, pass me the matches.
Yeah.
So, how did you come to get into all of this weird and wonderful world?
It's been kind of a long road, actually. I really love hiking. So a long time ago, I started hiking all the time, and I wanted to do something with it. And I believe it was a hiking. First, it started as a Facebook page, and then it became a blog. And then as time went on, like I've always been into spooky, haunted stuff. I grew up in a haunted house in New England on Cape Cod down in Hyannis, and it's a generational family home. It's been I think I was the 5th or 6th generation of my family to live in the house and grow up in the house, and it's still in the family. And so grew up in a haunted house, always loved the spooky stuff. And then a few years ago, I had another podcast about the military that didn't last too long. I think it lasted like 6 months or so before I just honestly, like, it was wearing on me mentally, like going back and talking about all the really tough stuff that we did in the military, especially veteran suicides, stuff like that. It got to me really quickly.
Yeah.
And so I still wanted a podcast. I still want to create, so I started another blog that had to do with hiking and the haunted stuff and the haunted taverns. And, I do enjoy a beer every now, And so I wanted to wrap it all together, and I ended up just sort of morphing that into the blog, and then that became the podcast. And then from there, it started with just me doing the podcast, telling these little, very short stories about different places. And then another buddy of mine, somebody who I served in the Marine Corps with, wanted to do something with his hiking. He also hikes, and he's also into, spooky and paranormal stuff. And he came to me and said, "Hey, I noticed you post a lot of stuff about hiking. We should do something with it." I was like, "Well, as a matter of fact, I've got a podcast. Like, you should come on with me, tell some of your stories." And that's how my co-host Rob ended up on the podcast within the first few months.
Wow.
And so that's kind of the short version of how
it's
became
meant to be. Yeah, that's really cool.
this this spooky podcast.
Yeah, I find it really interesting that you were in the Marine Corps, you said. Yeah. So my husband was
I was in the
in
Marine Corps.
my husband's was a military policeman. He retired last year. He'd been in the RAF for 20, I want to say 26 years. And
Wow.
he is so, I find it so interesting because you're obviously so open to the paranormal, but he is so logical and so
Yeah.
typical military police officer that he just won't see anything unless it's like right in front of him. And even then, he'd probably like interview it, question it, and all sorts of things. Like he would not believe.
Yeah.
So I find it very interesting that you've had a similar kind of background, but you're so open to it. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it was, like I said, it goes all the way back to my childhood. My dad loved to tell scary stories. He liked to go, camping and stuff on the weekends. And he liked to tell all the ghost stories while we're out there, especially to the when I was in the Scouts, when I was in the Cub Scouts. He had like 3 or 4 really good scary stories that he would tell around the fireplace, and they got old after a while. But
yeah,
add that to having a haunted house to live in when you're young, and stories from your aunts and uncles that all grew up in the same house. It kind of just walk into it, just start there and stay there, I guess.
Yeah. Do you find that a lot of people in the sort of military backgrounds are open to it, or do you think there is like a big? Because I've not come across any that are quite open to it yet.
No, there's so many. The thing with the military, there's so many different demographics that it's not, there's not like one type of person who joins the military. I don't think there's so many very different people. You got to kind of find who you have similar interests with. I mean, when you're there, you're there in the military. You're on duty and you're at your station. Everybody looks the same. Everybody dresses the same. And then, if you go out with them, these are guys or girls that you would never run into on a normal day-to-day basis because they're from such a different place, they all come together when they serve.
I found it interesting because we used to live on a military base that was definitely 100% haunted in numerous areas,
right?
And
pretty much like
every
military base has got some sort of haunted history. They've got some sort of dark history. They've got stories or something. There's a lot of old bases in New England.
Yeah.
And even if they didn't see combat or anything like that, they still have stories attached to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the one that we were at for 2013 to 2021, we lived there. And there was definitely a lot of history in that place. But it always amused me because we had like a Facebook chat for like everyone who lived there. It was an insane place to be in. That chat group thing was just wild. And it's funny because anything that was haunted related was always the wives. It was never anyone in the military. And anyone who put anything on there would instantly have like about 20 people from the military go on and be like, oh yeah, it's your goldfish, and like start talking a load of rubbish. But it's interesting, right? Really interesting. Yet Halloween, they all came out and they would all do the creepiest, weirdest stuff possible, which makes me think that they were possibly into it and they didn't want to say anything.
Well, it's like, I mean, you got to be on watch and you got to do, certain stuff. You're in the middle of the night. You might be by yourself out in the middle of nowhere, down some dark hallways and stuff. You don't want to think about that when you're in the military, especially when you're always there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You always have to
run away screaming.
Go down those places.
It's not a good look.
Right? You want to believe it's something tangible, something that you can see.
Yeah, definitely. Have you actually seen an apparition yourself then, or?
I have, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've seen a couple. There was so the very weird story that I remember as a kid, the youngest I was, and honestly I don't tell it very often because it's so ridiculous that I don't think anybody ever believes me. I think it feels like I tell it and it feels like a fabrication. So we were at I was down on the Cape, and I grew up on Cape Cod. And we're at a pond. It's Santuit Pond. And there used to be this, well, it's still there actually. It's a cranberry bog, and they used to let people go down to the cranberry bog. Like my family, they were friends with the owners of the bogs, and they used to let us go down there. And we'd spend the day skiing. A couple of people would bring boats, and we'd spend the day out there skiing on the pond. And us as kids, we weren't allowed to go on the cranberry bog, but we'd go all around it, and you can go up in the woods and everywhere around there. And I remember all the time my father and my uncles would like dig in the sand, and they would find arrowheads all over the place. It happened every summer. I never found one. I don't know how they were able to do it. They'd always just, oh, look, I found, another Native American Indian arrowhead. And so one day we were there, and it's just the middle of the day, and somebody points across the cranberry bog and was like, do you see this? And I look over there, and there's a Native American on a horse, on horseback, broad daylight, just walking down the side of the cranberry bog. And this is like full headdress, no shirt, just the blanket draped over the horse. And
Wow.
I'm watching him, and he's just walking down the bog like nothing's happening. Just a random guy dressed like an Indian walking his horse down the bog. And I turn around to tell somebody else, hey, look at this. And when I look back, gone. Completely just there 1 second, gone the next second.
Wow.
And at first I didn't believe that it could have been a ghost. Like I could have sworn it was just somebody. It was so real and so very obvious that I was like, it can't be something like that. So there must be like a path or something. They must have turned and went up a trail while I wasn't looking. And so us, the kids, actually went to the other side of the bog and tried to find the trail that he obviously went up, that he obviously turned and ran up into the woods or whatever. Nothing there. There was one trail on one side of the bog, one trail on the very far side of the bog. He was in the middle, and there was no way to go into the woods from there. It was just like a very steep hill up from there. And have no idea what that was. Pretty sure it was an apparition because there was no other way to describe the fact that he was there and then gone again.
Yeah, and if it was a horse, it would have left hoof prints in the path.
Yeah, and we did. Yeah. I do remember looking for hoof prints and looking for tracks, and didn't see anything there.
Wow. I bet that was an incredible sight.
It was pretty wild, and it's very, very much like just etched into my memory. I can't not remember that anymore.
Yeah, I've got a few like incidents like that, especially when like being younger. I mean, we don't really get Native American stuff over here, obviously. Ours is mainly like the typical grey ladies or William Shakespeare or figures that look like William Shakespeare or Henry VIII or, something of that kind of establishment rather than, anything else. But yeah, it's amazing. I have to say, though, the first meditation I ever did that was kind of trying to intentionally connect with a guide of some sort. I got this flash of just like a Native American guy he was like, I remember it so clearly because it was so colourful, like so bright that I had to blink and like open my eyes because I couldn't believe that was what I was seeing in a meditation, because usually I just don't see anything. So it just literally popped up like a flash. But I could see like all this grass and a tree, and the tree was kind of like over him, giving him some shade, and he was like on sort of sand, which was then a boulder. And I still remember it to this day. This happened like probably like 15 years ago. And he had like a stick in his hand, like an like long spear arrow thing. I don't know what you call them. Spear. They're spears, aren't they? Yeah. And he had like his headdress on. He was shirtless, and he had like the paint across his face. I remember it. I've drawn it. I actually oil painted a picture of it because I've seen him like since. But that was so clear, and that's probably the only like Native American thing that I've experienced, because we're in the UK. It doesn't happen here.
Right. The history with the UK fascinates me. I mean, sure, it's goes back so far. And I mean, we think about New England, like, stuff is old and it's only like 200, 300 years back.
Yeah.
as far as the colonists go and the beginning of the country here. But you know,
Yeah.
England, there's places that go back thousands of years, right? Like you
Yeah.
have
Really,
history.
really old, old places.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, funny enough, not that far from where we were on that military base, there was actually a place which was, I'm probably really going to butcher this now that I'm thinking about it, but it was like an old village where they still had the straw huts that people used to make, like,
Yeah.
there was, you could go there and there were statues of them, and they weren't like cave people. They were like the one up from cave people when we started to start making
Okay.
things like cups and bowls and plates and stuff like that. But I'll have to try and remember what the place was called. Somebody's probably screaming at the screen as they watch this and going like, it's blah, blah, blah. But there was actually like a little village around there, which you could go visit, and you could see like all the old coins they'd found and all these old instruments and everything.
Wow.
It was like it was just left in time for somebody to like stumble across and just leave it there. It was just as it was. It's really interesting, but I love like all our old castles, and um, you know, I love the ruins as well. Even the castles that have fallen down, I think they're just like beautiful in their like broken state. We've got loads of
Yeah.
history. It's incredible.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we like to do with our podcast is we find places that like people go to all the time, places that you would never expect,
Mm,
places where people go hiking or go for a picnic or things that people go to every day, and we find out the history of it, the ghost stories about it, and try to bring all that stuff to light. Because a lot of times you'd be out there in the woods and it's like you're on the trail and you might see a old stone wall or something or an old foundation. You don't know what it is,
mm,
but it could be an entire village. You could be walking through essentially a colonial ghost town or a native ghost town or something like that
yeah,
that was there and then has some sort of history, and people just don't realize it. You know what I
mm,
mean? A lot of these places are just, they look like awesome open green spaces, and there's just so much more. We've got a place called the Carter Preserve, and it's the next town over here in Rhode Island, and it's a gorgeous green space. I want to say there's like a 7.5 mile loop trail that goes all the way around it. There's several acres of just open field, and the Pawcatuck River runs along one side of it. These gorgeous fields with just ferns everywhere, where ferns will grow, almost chest high in the summertime, and
mm,
it looks like an ocean of ferns. But in 1963, it was actually a nuclear facility, and the only recorded nuclear related death happened in New England at this facility in 1963. And
wow,
there's no record of it. I mean, there's a record of it, but there's no signage, there's no anything there to say like that something was there. It's all been cleaned up.
yeah,
All the foundations have been completely removed. Like you can kind of see them in satellite images. You can see where like the squares the old buildings was, and there is this random road that goes into the woods. It's a
mm,
little 2-lane road where it goes to what looks like might have been a gravel parking lot at some point, but you really can't tell what's there.
yeah,
And then you dig into it a little bit and you find out, wow, there's so much more to this.
yeah. That's such a shame. I mean, in the UK, we have the national. I was about to say National Trust. That is what it is. And then we have English Heritage. So there are two places that really like look after old buildings, and anything that's
Yeah.
of like historical importance. So I think if anyone in the UK had found anything like that, it would have been barriered up. There would have been a sign. Somebody would have been on the gate taking tickets. They would have made like a whole
Right.
big thing of it. I suppose that's one of the good
Yeah.
things about the UK is that they are definitely hot on trying to preserve any kind of history that we have, which is a good thing. I know there's a lot of like charities as well that are really into preserving stuff that we have, to make sure that it obviously stays around. Um, which part of what I do is I like to try and preserve the stories of these places, like the
Yeah.
people, the the spirits that are in these places, because they often get forgotten about unless someone's like trying to make money on them these days. But it's, I think history is so important, because if we don't talk about it or do anything with it, it's just going to be lost, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
the generations that
definitely.
know about it will pass, and if they haven't passed that information on to anyone, it's just going to disappear and never be seen again. So I think it's really important, like what we all do is, these types of podcasts and stuff, is bringing those places back to life and keeping their history going.
Absolutely, yeah.
So would you say you're more into paranormal, or do you like lean more towards like cryptid stuff? Or I know that you spoke to David about triangles, and I'm really quite interested in those, because I was
We did, yeah.
fascinated. I was like, I remember going, I think it might have been when we were going to America or something, and I remember like looking on a map or something, and I was like, "Oh my god, the Bermuda Triangle! If we go near that, we'll never be seen again." And I like started freaking out. So I found that really interesting when you were talking about that. Is that kind of more your thing, or would you say it's all of the above?
Um, my thing really, it I don't think it matters if it's paranormal or if it's cryptids or even if it's just tragic
Mm,
history type stuff, especially like there was a lot of war here and stuff back in the colonial times, that the Native Americans and especially between the colonists and the British and the French and everything like
yeah,
that. Um, it's really about finding the history, finding the stories associated with, and exploring it and getting a firsthand experience of what the place is like. Because all the niche with my podcast, I guess, is that we're not just telling stories. We every episode that we have about a place, one of us has been there,
mm,
either me or my co-host. We have gone there physically, checked it out, we've seen it firsthand, and then so we like to talk about not only the legends and not only the true history of it, but what it's like to be there
yeah,
and see it with your own
yeah,
eyes.
like your
So I
experience.
think I think most of it, yeah, I think most of it is about the adventure. Really,
Mm,
is about getting out there and seeing this stuff and having, and if there's an experience to have, like if there's a ghost story, if there's something that's going to come out and say something to us or talk to us or show itself to us, which doesn't really happen because I'm not very sensitive in that way. I think I kind of shut. Spirits don't really like to pop out to me. That they don't. Rob's not very sensitive. His daughter is, but so I don't really. I get weird vibes and stuff when I go places, but I don't see a whole lot.
yeah.
But it's more about the adventure of it, going to these places, finding out the history, and just seeing it firsthand.
Yeah, I think that's what I like about because I do paranormal investigations as well. I think that's what I like about doing those,
Yeah,
is that we get to go to places that you wouldn't necessarily go to, especially at night, and you get to see like the
yeah,
different experience, because everywhere's different at night time, isn't it? And I like that,
oh yeah,
where you think, oh, that's such a nice pretty historic building, but at nighttime when you switch the lights out and you're all there by yourself, it's a very different place. And I like that.
it certainly is. Yeah. Last summer we got a chance. The guys Scott and Ryan from Beyond the Shadows reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're going to the Conjuring House. You guys want to come along?" And so we were able to go there. We went with Scott and Ryan from Beyond the Shadows and Kevin from Where the Weird Ones Are. Me and Rob, we got to go to the Conjuring House and we spent the night there. Um, Probably the hottest day of the entire summer.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't have, this was right. I don't know if there's been a lot of controversy over the last year with the Conjuring
Yeah.
House and the people who work there. And so this was right in the middle of it. This is right after they fired everybody. So it was the owner who
Oh,
was actually
okay.
there with us. So we were right there right after, had no idea that this stuff was going on.
Yeah.
Right. And so there was no air conditioning in the house, which is fine.
Mm.
So it was absolutely hot. But like, those guys, Kevin, Scott, and Ryan, they've got all their ghost hunting equipment out there. They've got SLS cameras and all kinds of equipment. And, me and Rob don't have any equipment. We're not really paranormal
Yeah.
investigators. We're just like we're happy to be here, man. We
Yeah. We're just here for the fun, the
We just want to
experience.
be here. We just want to look around, have a good time, and get those spooky vibes, but just see everything, and see I mean, it's not the actual Annabelle doll. They've got a replica Annabelle doll there, but see the, what is it, the well in the basement, and just see the whole building and the grounds and everything. And it was just, I mean, it was amazing. It was an amazing experience, and it was super awesome to be there. But yeah, I wasn't, and it was neat to see all the paranormal investigator equipment.
Yeah.
That stuff was definitely cool. But I didn't have any of my own.
Did anything actually happen while you were there though?
They I think they caught some voices.
Okay.
I think they had some stuff going. They had a couple voices that I'm not sure exactly what came through. I was, me and Rob were just having a good time.
Along for the ride. Yeah. Did you actually feel, because I don't know, I think we over in the UK, our version of the Conjuring House is probably 30 East Drive. And a lot of people have opinions about that place. They're like, especially at the moment, they're like, oh, the next door neighbor bangs on the wall, or there's a lot of things like that said. And then other people are like, I've been and nothing happened. It's like a load of rubbish. Other people go and they have an amazing time and think it's the most haunted place ever. I'm going in January. Yeah. I've put it off for a very long time, but I'm going in January just to see for myself. Because I think it's just something you've just got to tick off. Like the Conjuring House, you've just got to tick it off, say you've been, and work it out for yourself.
Yeah.
But did you I think with places like that, there's also so much hype about it that you in yourself, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to the Conjuring House, the most haunted, well-known haunted house thing ever. I'm going to get possessed. There's going to be demons everywhere and all the rest of it. But did you have that in your head when you went, or did you just think, oh?
I mean, I definitely knew all the spots that things were supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Like the room where the exorcism happened, where the wife was thrown across the room. That was right as you first walked in. Most of the house seemed fine. Most of the house just seemed like an older New England home, like a 1700s home. There was a couple spots. At one point, we went out into the woods where there was supposed to be. I don't remember what it was supposed to be from the movie. There was something about the lake or something that happened down towards the water. There was a point where we walked down that way, and it was got a really weird feeling down there.
Yeah.
Definitely heard some weird stuff in the woods, but it was summertime. I mean, it could have been anything in the woods.
Yeah.
But I will say that for some reason, the kitchen in that house, I kept going into the kitchen. I ended up going in there by myself a couple times just to walk that way or go towards the basement door. But I never wanted to be in that room. I just kept having this really weird, I kept feeling like something was in there, and I didn't want to be in that room, but I kept forcing myself to go in there. And I don't know. Sometimes I get a weird feeling in places, and that was just it. I never saw anything.
Yeah.
I kept expecting to see something, because it's the Conjuring House. You expect to see everything, but
yeah, I think.
But it was very cool. Seeing the well was awesome.
Yeah. I think even still, to this day, with everything that's been said about the Conjuring House and all that's going on with it and all the rest of it, I think if someone phoned me and said, if you phoned me and said, hey, Shell, do you want to come to the Conjuring House? I'd be like, yes, get me on the plane. I'm going. I was like, I'm not even going to think about it. I don't even know if my passport's in date, but I'm going. I was like, I will get it sorted. Yeah, I think I would still go just because it's an experience. Like you say, you have to.
Yeah, even if it's hyped up, even if it's overblown, if it's someplace like that is obviously an icon, gonna check it out.
Yeah.
I mean, there was what was it? Me and Rob went out to Pennhurst, and on the way back we were talking about how, Friday the 13th this year fell in June, which is, the Jason Voorhees birthday thing, and the camp that they recorded where they filmed that movie in, they rent it out to people. So they rent out rooms and they rent out overnight stays. And so this year we checked if you could stay there on June 13th, on Friday the 13th, and it was booked almost solid all the way through. And it was it was $700 or $800 to spend a night in this camp.
Wow.
So that's probably the one place where I'd be like, I don't know that that's enough.
Yeah.
Like I think that's a little too rich for me, you
Yeah,
know.
that's
If they had like,
yeah.
you know, if it was like $150 to like do a couple hour tour, I'd probably do something like that. But $600, $700, $800 just for one night, I don't think for a movie set, not even an actual haunted place, but
Yeah, that's a lot. I think I'd be out on that.
yeah.
I'd feel like, no. Definitely
Yeah,
not.
so I think there is a limit to, you know, going to places that are overhyped.
Yeah, yeah. Have you been to like any of the like big asylums that you've got in America?
Yeah, well we've been to Pennhurst Asylum a couple times, and that's the one in
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. That's the one they do the Pennhurst Paracon there every year, and then they hold different ghost hunting things throughout the year. So me and Rob have been out there for the Pennhurst Paracon the last 2 years, and we got to see that one. I've done the Norwich State
Mm-hmm.
School, which is about 30 minutes from here. It's actually really close to where I
Oh wow.
live. I've done that one. Rob has done a lot of them in New
Yeah.
England. He's done a lot of the big ones in this area. I mean, I want to try to remember some off the top of my head, but there's a bunch of them.
You have got
Honestly,
loads in America, to be fair.
if you look it up, yeah, especially in New England, like they were really big on the
Mm.
asylums at the end of the 1800s. You know, that whole state sponsored care for orphans and disabled people, and you know,
Yeah.
people with mental issues. They were really big on that back then, so they built a ton of them.
Yeah.
You know, just even from here, Seaside Sanatorium, which was a tuberculosis hospital, is 25 minutes from me, and then the Norwich State School is probably like 30 minutes from
Wow.
here. And then there's another one in Exeter, Rhode Island that actually they tore down all the buildings recently, like within the last 5 years or so, but it was called the Lad School.
Mm.
That one, up until recently, was still and some of these places were operating into the 2000s. I mean, they were still hospitals.
Yeah. They got like repurposed and stuff.
There's some of them that still have hospitals attached to them. There's one in I want to say Middletown, Connecticut. I might be off on that one, but there's one in the middle of Connecticut that used to be an asylum, and it was a big state hospital, and somebody like was like, oh, there's a bunch of abandoned buildings at this place in Connecticut. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go check it out. And I drove like an hour and a half or whatever out there to check it out. And I got there, and yeah, there's abandoned buildings, but it's still a hospital. It's still a functioning campus. Like, so I got there, and there's people walking all over the place. There's signs, there's cars everywhere. And it's like, you're driving around, and there was even one building that one side of it looked completely abandoned, and then it was attached to another one that looked new. Like they had built a new building and attached it to the old one. So like on one level, there's a bunch of broken windows, and on the next level, there's a bunch of air conditioners in the window, and they're all running.
That's really weird.
I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, they're still using it. And then some of the buildings are like, they're completely abandoned, but they're fenced off. They're being either rehabbed or they're being torn down or something. But
yeah,
there's a ton of that here.
Yeah, we're still trying to find like, so where I am in Northumberland, Mike on our paranormal team, me and him are like obsessed. We really want to find like an abandoned like asylum or something, but doesn't really seem to be any up this way. We're still determined to try and find something, even if it was like, you know, used for about a week or something and then just left to ruins. But we're still, you know, we need to tick it off our little list of things that we've done. But I mean, I think a lot of the ones in England, they're been reused, or they're still being reused in some way. So they're not, we don't really have as many abandoned places as I think what you guys do. You seem to have like a lot.
Right. Yeah, you just got to find one that was used for something nefarious like that. And then it's, you know, still being used. Just put on like a blaze orange vest, you know, grab a clipboard and just walk in there.
I mean, to be fair, if I walked in, they'd probably keep me for a little while and start doing some tests. They'd be like, she knows too much. Let's
Like, oh, while you're here, you know, just
Yeah,
come on, we got a room for you.
yeah,
We're waiting for you.
yeah. I do. I remember once my friend started dating someone who worked in a hospital near us that was for that kind of purpose. And I remember speaking to him and I said, "Do you ever find yourself agreeing with the people that are there?" And he was like, "Yeah, sometimes I do, and then I worry about myself." I was like, "Yeah, I don't think they're all crazy. I think they're all onto
Yeah,
something."
right. Yeah, they're fine.
Do you kind of ever go down that whole, conspiracy side, or do you try to? I think,
I do a little bit.
yeah,
I mean, definitely there are some. The more conspiracies come out as being
yeah.
true,
I don't think we can
it's
call
like
them
you kind
conspiracies
of
anymore. I think they're just like 6 month
yeah.
waiting
You just
period.
they're just fact finding missions. Just it's just early news now. It's
Yeah,
not a conspiracy anymore.
yeah. You've got to wait like about 6 months to a year, and then it's suddenly like, oh yeah, I read about that on some Reddit
Yeah.
forum
Well, there was
somewhere.
yeah, one of the hospitals that Rob has been to, I haven't been to. We did a couple episodes on it. Was the Fernald School, and one of the things that they did there is I think it was with MIT, Harvard, and Quaker
Hmm.
Oats, and they got together and they wanted to do an experiment on people, and so they got a bunch of orphan kids to sign up for something they called the science program, the science club, and then fed them radiated oatmeal to see the effects of radiation on the body. They thought that I think the theory was that the oatmeal was so good for you that it would stop the effects of radiation in the body. And so they were radiating kids by feeding them isotopes, like radioactive isotopes in their oatmeal. And for a long time this was like speculated as something to happen, but nobody believed
Yeah,
it because they were like, there's no way your government would radiate children.
yeah,
And they're like, no, they did.
yeah,
They absolutely did. And then they had to pay back a bunch of people. A lot of those kids got cancers and died later on. And I think the lawsuit eventually came in the 80s or 90s. And they paid maybe a few $1,000,000, but not even close to enough for the damages they caused, you know?
where do people get these ideas? Just it. I think if
I
we
don't know.
knew, though, we'd be like those people. So it's probably best that we don't know where they get these ideas from, because we'd probably be like on the
Right.
same caliber as those. Well, just monsters, really, aren't they? There's no other word for
I
it.
mean, seriously. And that's right up there with lobotomizing people. They did that for
Yeah,
a long time here
yeah,
in these same hospitals.
yeah. Funny enough, I was talking to someone earlier today was having a chat with someone. She said that her parent or something was, or it was someone she knew. I can't remember the whole story. I was half paying attention and half doing something else as per usual. And it was about them being like electrocuted in a way for some like recovery thing.
Yep.
And I was like, honestly, like we used to be put into like insane asylums for like, especially women were put in insane asylums for absolutely ridiculous reasons. Like, you're just like acting a little bit hysterical because you're upset. Like, stick her in an asylum. You had more than one
Yeah. No.
partner, stick her in an asylum.
Yeah.
It's just like, whatever,
It happened
asylum.
pretty often. Yeah, just go to the asylum. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out my I want to say it wasn't that long ago I found out that my grandmother actually ended up in an asylum for a little while because she was overwhelmed with her kids. She had 5 kids, and my grandfather was gone for long periods of time.
Hmm.
He was on a boat all the
Hmm.
time. And apparently at one point she tried to kill herself, and so they put her in an asylum and they performed the electroshock therapy to try to alleviate her issues. And I mean, she lived a long life. She was happy. She had pretty bad dementia towards the end,
Yeah.
but who knows what kind of effects that had on
Well,
her.
yeah, it's bound to leave some kind of like
And that
scar tissue type scenario, isn't it?
right, and I mean, you read about that stuff like electroshock therapy, lobotomies, that you think like, oh, this is way in the past. Like, no, these are people that we know
Mm-hmm.
have suffered from this stuff. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they weren't doing that long ago. They were they were still doing that. Like I said, a lot of these asylums didn't close until the 90s or early 2000s
Yeah.
in New England.
Lobotomies are the one thing that really does like make me feel sick, because it's just that eyeballs. Anything to do with eyeballs is just no. Just no. Am I like, I can't even watch somebody touch their own eye to get a hair out. I'm like just no. It's not happening. But
it's crazy too, because they were doing it to very young children too.
Yeah.
They weren't like just doing it to adults. I think the youngest was like 4 years old that got lobotomized. Like that's insane. How could you like, as a professional medical professional, be like, yeah, it's totally fine. We'll do this life altering.
Yeah.
But
their skulls aren't even like formed or anything properly by that age anyway, are they? It's like,
right, you're not even a fully formed person. You've still got a long time to grow.
Yeah.
You still got almost 20 years to before you're fully grown. You're developing for all that time, and you're gonna go ahead and just stunt everything right there.
And like, how do you know you're even doing what you're meant to be doing correctly? Like, they didn't really have a clue, did they? It was all experimental.
No.
And who sat there and went, I know what we're going to do. We're going to put like a long stick through somebody's like eye and like just hammer it. Just wiggle it around until something happens.
Wiggle around.
Yeah, bizarre.
You got like a 70% chance of survival.
Yeah,
it's fine.
So sign me up. Yeah. It's like those really hot baths as well that they used to put people in, and like proper. They were like massive iron things, and then you put like the metal over you, so it was just like your head sticking through, and they'd put like boiling water in there, and you'd be, and they'd also like, it would have locks on it and stuff, so you're literally locked in and can't do anything, and you'd be screaming away because it would be like, ripping at your skin and stuff, and they'd just leave you in there for like hours on end. Like, how's that going to help anyone with mental health issues? It's just going to make them worse. It's just so wrong.
That's got to give you such bad PTSD then?
Yeah.
Forget it.
Yeah.
You'd come out of there even crazier.
Definitely. Ugh. Yeah, it makes you wonder. But history, and medical history especially, is just mental. It's insane. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, some of the things that we've uncovered and found out doing these, and checking out these asylums and hospitals and stuff like that, it's mind-blowing. The stuff that people did, that people got away with, that was readily accepted by society.
Yeah
It's wild.
And then you think like some women who were like trying to give somebody a peppermint tea because they had a stomach ache were a witch, and they had to be burned at the stake.
Right.
But if you put a metal needle through somebody's eye and wiggle it around, you're a genius. You're revolutionary.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Somebody should write a book about your findings.
Or like, what was the guy who came up with a cure for syphilis by giving people malaria?
Oh yeah. Genius.
No, that's not witchcraft. That's perfectly fine. That's just medical. That's just science.
It's just so many double standards in there. Absolutely insane. So I have a question just about like the Bermuda Triangle, just because of the conversation I heard you and David talk about. What are your thoughts on that thing?
From what I understand, if you look at the Bermuda Triangle as like planes and ships that disappear per square mile, it's not any different than any other area of the sea, apparently.
Okay.
So whether or not there's something there, I don't know. I mean, I remember seeing stuff like that about the Bermuda Triangle all the time when I was a kid. And I think me and David talked about this too. Like, I thought the Bermuda Triangle was going to be a bigger deal. I thought I was going to be like getting on a plane and going across it at some point and having some sort of crazy experience out there, and, coming out alive on the other side. But I don't know. There might be something to it. There's been so many different documentaries and stuff that I've seen about it, and I haven't watched them all. I'm sure, about whether it was Atlantis or whether it was some sort of alien. I don't know.
Yeah,
the Bermuda Triangle's, it's wild. Yeah,
it's strange.
I know some of the military stuff is crazy, but
the whole drone thing, like I was explaining to actually when I spoke to David, I was explaining that when I was about 8, so this was in the 1980s, I had a reoccurring dream, and I mean for years, about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of drones in the sky. And obviously back in the 80s, I didn't know what a drone was. I just saw these like little
Right.
metal things that were in the sky, and they were like observing us. And I remember when we started talking about drones, and I was like, oh my God, I know what they are. I've seen them. I've seen hundreds of them in the sky before. Like when I was a kid, I was like,
Right.
that's really weird. Why was I shown that? You then start asking a lot of questions like, well, why was somebody showing me constantly for about a year about these metal things that are in the skies? And now drones are everywhere, aren't they? Absolutely everywhere.
Right. And you were just having a premonition about the Beijing Olympics.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sounds like
That was kind of what it was like. Yeah. Just hundreds of them in the sky.
hundreds of them.
Yeah. I've had some really weird ones about spaceships in the sky as well. I'm just waiting for that to happen. That's on the cards. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's on the cards. It's going to be there. Yeah. It's your dreams are funny things as well, aren't they? I'd love to have someone strap me in and like see what's going on in there and put it on a big screen so that everyone else can enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't know if that'd be a good idea. I've had some pretty weird dreams. I feel like as it goes to paranormal and the spirits, I feel like if there's any place that they can get to you or get to me, especially, it's in
Yeah.
my dreams. I feel like there's been a few where it's like there's somebody else here,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like I've had people visit me in my dreams. Probably the last one that was really weird was my grandmother passed away last September. Not last September, the year before September. It's been a while. And I remember, like, I didn't want to go to bed that night. I was like, oh man, I'm going to have a weird dream. Something's going to happen. I just know it, right? And so I went to sleep, and sure enough, I had this dream. Like, thankfully, my grandmother didn't come to me in my dream, so which was fine. But what happened was, back when I was in the Marine Corps, I served in Iraq in 2004 into 2005, and just before we left, we had the youngest person in our company was killed in an automobile accident. Essentially, it was just a vehicle accident. He was killed, and so I go to sleep that day that my grandmother passed away, and all of a sudden he's in my dream.
Oh, wow.
Perez is in my dream, and he's like, and I'm like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I just here to make sure you're all right. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm good, dude. Like, I'm glad you're here, man. Holy shit. And it was so surreal. Like it was very strange the way I was just like, I knew something was going to happen, and something did happen in my dream.
Yeah. Yeah. Dreams I find my dreams especially are so, I actually at the moment I'm doing like intentional dream work. So I'm setting an intention before I go to sleep, and then I'm sort of documenting it the next day. And some of the stuff, like especially over a period of time, really starts to add up, and you're like, okay, there's definitely more to our dreams than we think there is going on. But I mean, a bit like you, I constantly have dreams about my granddad, and it's always in the old flat that they used to live in, where I can see the carpets, I can see my nan's plants on their little trolley thing that they had, the TV's on, and they're watching their usual program. I see their books and everything, and I always know my granddad's dead in the dream, but we have these like totally in-depth conversations. And I'm like, well, I know you're dead. Like, and we're having a whole conversation about it. And then I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh. But I think it's because that's the kind of state that we're in when we meditate or when we connect to spirit. So it's easier for them to like come in, because we're not, especially when we're asleep as well, because we're not got any like fear or any human experience around it. We're just like, having our nice little dreams, and they're just like, well, while they're sleeping, I'll just pop in because it's easier for me to do it. Say hi, and then I'll leave them to, freak out about it tomorrow, instead of like popping in, through the wall and going like, hiya, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, I think the veil's a little bit thinner in your subconscious, especially.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. Well, I have absolutely loved this conversation, and I will definitely have you back because I feel like there's like a whole load of other things that we can talk about. But what I'd like to do, just to finish off the podcast, is what I usually do. We used to call it a quick fire round, but nobody can grasp that. So we now just call it a this or that, because that's kind of what it is. So I'm going to ask you some questions, and you have to pick a would you rather situation. So get my words out. Campfire tales or a pub ghost story?
Campfire tales.
Wandering a haunted wood or sleeping above an old tavern?
Well, that's a good one. But I do the wandering in the haunted woods pretty often, so that's that's what I go with.
Cryptids or ghosts? We kind of covered this earlier.
Probably ghosts. I'd rather run into a ghost than a cryptid.
Yeah, I think I would too. Robin Hood or King Arthur?
King Arthur. I was fascinated with him when I was young.
He's a cool dude. Not met him personally, but I think the legend of King Arthur is I think a bit more interesting than Robin Hood, unfortunately. Sorry, Robin. Folklore legends or urban myths?
Folklore. Absolutely. Love the folklore stuff.
Yeah, me too. Cursed object or haunted place?
Haunted place. I don't mess with cursed objects. I'm not touching things.
I've actually been somewhere and they put a gin in front of me. It was in a box. Usually it's in the box. The box is like open, but it's behind a glass cabinet. I was just sitting there minding my own business, and we were in a haunted museum, and she went, "Oh, this is a gin," and literally just put it in front of me. And I was like, I don't really want that anywhere near me. Thank you.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. Ale with a ghost or tea with a witch?
Ale with a ghost.
Yeah. I suppose you'd never know what was in that tea, would you? Could be anything.
I mean, tea with a witch sounds like fun.
Yeah. I'd be up for that. Ancient ruins or forgotten cemeteries?
Ancient ruins.
Yeah.
I want to go see like Machu Picchu and the South American ruins so bad. It just haven't gotten to it yet.
Yeah, it's all time and money and travel, isn't it?
Right.
Pendle witches or Selkies of the sea?
Say that one more time. I didn't quite get that.
Pendle witches. The Pendle witches. I don't know if you've heard of them. Pendle witches of England.
No, I don't think I have.
They're kind of like our version of the Salem witch trials. So there's a big thing called Pendle, and it's meant to be like really haunted because a load of witches died there. So, or Selkies of the sea, which are like sea demon things, aren't they? Selkies.
Yeah, I want to go with the witches over the demons.
I don't mess with the sea. The sea scares me. I think there's way more to the sea than we will ever know. And I think it could possibly kill us. So we just stay away from that.
Yeah, we've definitely got a lot of ghost ship stories around this area.
Yeah.
In England.
Yeah, I can imagine. There's probably quite a few up here because we were very heavily like... have you ever seen The Last Kingdom? No. Okay, so The Last Kingdom is all about Uhtred and his, Viking, Danes, that kind of thing. His castle, because he was a real person, his castle is actually just up the road from where I live. So I'd imagine there's very like Viking, and we've got Holy Island just up from where I am as well, which is all about Vikings. And I'd imagine there's a load of Viking ships around here that are like still seen at sea. I've not personally like actually seen any, but that would be cool. So time slips into the past or see spirit realms?
That's a good one. Time slips into the past. I think that'd be more logical for me.
Yeah. So my final question, because we like to leave the audience thinking about the world and questioning everything possible. In all the stories you've heard or shared, what truth about humanity do you think folklore is trying to teach us?
I think folklore is trying to teach us probably that we need to be more in tune with nature and less wanting to control it and subdue it and form it in our own way. I think we need to work with the world that we're given. I think that's probably the biggest thing you can learn from that.
Yeah. And which is funny because when you look at the Bible, I'm not religious by any means, but when you open the Bible, the first page does actually say to us, like, I've given you pretty much everything you need to survive.
Right. Yeah.
And then the rest of the Bible is pretty much how we mess it up from that page. That one page was like, oh, this starts off well. Right. And then the rest of it's just, oh dear, what happened? But yeah, I think you're right. I think there is, but I also noticed a shift at the moment where, I don't know if you'll notice this as well, that it seems to be even like medicine is starting to go back to the old ways. Like over here, we're starting to use cannabis, especially for treatment, a lot of things that we would have probably used ages ago. And they're even bringing back for like, I know that when my sister, she had a really bad wound to her leg, and they were using really old school methods that were like ancient methods to try and like get the wound to heal. And I thought that was really interesting that they were using honey. They were using pineapple and something else as well. And I thought, well, they're really old methods that we would have used like years and years and years ago, not like your usual, laser stitch up type things.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's really interesting. Yep. So maybe we are all awakening and we're all going to go down that route of going back to how we should have been.
Yeah. Starting to hear the world a little bit more.
Yeah.
Starting to hear what it's saying.
Yeah. Gut thinking rather than head thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good way to put it.
Go back to the caveman ways where we actually knew what was going on by our guts because our brains weren't fully formed yet. Probably the best way. Well, thank you so much for joining me. If anyone wants to get hold of you, where can they find you? I'll obviously put everything in the description.
So I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all at Tales, Trails, and Taverns. It's usually Tales _ there's an underscore between each word. There is also the website, talestrailsandtaverns.com. You can reach me through my email. It's talestrailsandtaverns@yahoo.com. That's probably a good way to get directly in touch with me. And then, pretty much all the socials,
Yeah.
That's the way to find it. And Instagram is probably the biggest one. That's probably where I put the most stuff.
And it's amazing. I can vouch for it.
And that's the main one. You can find all the links in the bio through there for everything that we do. The podcast. We've got The Haunted New England by Tales, Trails, and Taverns. That's a book that we put out last year. My first fiction novel is in there. My fiction novella. It's very short. That one's up there. That was Terra New Dawn. You can find that there. There's links to all the merch shops where you can get the t-shirts or whatever other Tales, Trails, and Taverns stuff. And then my co-host, we didn't talk about this at all yet. My co-host is actually filming a movie this summer.
Oh, wow.
He's making his own horror movie. He wrote the script. He's got the funding. He's putting it all together. He's going to start casting pretty soon. And he's hoping to be done filming by the end of the summer and into the fall. And so links to that, once that comes out, and once that is in full production, that we're going to have all the links to that out there.
Amazing.
As well.
Well, if he needs a spooky British person, I've done a bit of acting in my time. Yeah, I don't mind if
you probably always use more people to kill in the movie.
Do you know what? I would absolutely love to be in one of those. My dream, this sounds really weird, and this is a really weird way to finish this, but my dream is, and I keep manifesting it, I really want to have like a proper gothic vampire photo shoot done, like the blood, the everything. I really want it to happen.
Nice.
I've even like AI screenshot myself like in front of Chillingham Castle and like with all the vampires. I'm manifesting it. I'm manifesting it so much. But you know, horror movie. I don't mind if someone like chops my head off in a movie. I'm here for it. It'll be fine.
I know, I can't wait.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well done, Rob, for doing that. That'll be great. So thank you, and I will definitely have you back on because I think we've got about a million other things to talk about in the future. So I will drop your descriptions all in the drop your you can tell it's late over here and I've lost the plot now. I would put all your links in the description so everyone can find you, and to everyone else, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.
Thank you for joining me on this journey into the unknown on Shell's After Dark archives. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a story that sends chills down your spine. I'd love to hear about your own paranormal experiences, so drop a comment or send me a message. Your story might even be featured in a future episode, and if you're loving the show, please leave a like and share it with your fellow seekers of the supernatural. For those who want even more exclusive content, behind-the-scenes insights, and bonus episodes, join the membership. You'll find the link in the description below. Your support keeps the lights off and the stories coming. Until next time, stay curious, stay brave, and keep exploring the shadows. See you in the archives, after dark.